Hi everybody, and today we are going to be making glad bags. We're making the bags in two sizes, and there will be two different patterns with two different videos on this YouTube channel for depending on the weight of your fabric. This video is dealing with lightweight fabric such as a duvet cover if you're repurposing one of those into a bag. The two sizes of bags that we'll be making will be roughly 50 centimetres by 60 centimetres for the larger one, and 45 centimetres by 50 centimetres for the medium-sized one. Don't worry if you can't remember these, there will be a pattern that's available. Just another note, if you are repurposing duvets and sheets, pillowcases, which is a lovely thing to do, before you start your project, just check that the material is of a good enough quality. Sometimes the middle of a sheet, for example, wears a bit thin. There's still quite often usable material around the edges of the sheet, but you don't want one of the bits where it's wearing thin in your bag. So do check your quality of all the bits of material that you're using. So this is one that I've cut out already that we're going to make the lined bag from. Let me tell you what I've got. You need two pieces this size for the handles. These are 10 centimetres that way and 100 centimetres that way, or a metre. Now this fabric works well both ways up, so I can do one lovely long strip that's going to do the front and then up the back. This one is 50 centimetres this way. And because we're making the larger bag, we are aiming for 120 this way. Now it doesn't matter if your bag is slightly under, this one is going to be 2 centimetres smaller. That doesn't really make much difference. We'd rather use the material than waste it. Now if you were making your bag out of, say, this material, can we see that? You can see you've got trees and deer on it. That would look rather peculiar if you folded it in half like that for the bag, because on the back all the poor deer would be hanging upside down. So if you were making a bag out of a material that had a definite top and bottom, what you would need to do is to cut 4 pieces of material that were 50 by 60 and then do an extra seam on the bottom. So I've got 2 of these because I'm going to line it in the same fabric as the outside, but you could use a different one if you prefer. To make the handles, you're absolutely allowed to iron these. I haven't, because we're filming this in the middle of a heat wave, but here is one of the strips. I don't know if you're going to need to come any closer. Danica, there we are. So I fold over one side at approximately 3 centimetres there, and then this one at 1.5 centimetres there, and then fold it over like that. You can see this pleases me, but I've got all the stripes matching up nicely like that, and then you're going to sew all the way down there. It will be easier to sew if you've ironed it first, but I can't cope with an iron in this heat. So here's one of the handles finished. If I hold it up, I hope you can see where the seam is, just sewing it down there. When you've done it, the width of the handle will be about 3.5 centimetres. So now we're going to make the bit of the bag. Take one of your bits of material and fold it in half with the right sides together. You can see that I've just got the fold there at the bottom and the raw edges at the top. This should give you 60 centimetres roughly this way by 50 this way. Do exactly the same with the other one. Here we are, here's my fold. Again, right sides inside, right sides together, and then line it up over the top so that the 2 folds are at one end and all 4 raw edges are at the top, and it should just sit nicely over the top like that. We're then going to sew the side seams. So you're going to, sorry Mumty, you're going to sew one line up here and one line up here. You need to leave a little bit at the top that you haven't sewn. So you don't sew all the way to the top. You do sew all the way from the bottom, and then you leave, oh dear, I was going to say an inch, but we need to do it in centimetres, a couple of centimetres maybe, at the top where you don't sew, so you stop about here. So to make the corners nice and crisp, we're going to cut, oh Seffi, not on the back, that's a good girl. There we are. We're going to cut a little triangle of the seam allowance here because then it's less bulk to go in. I will do it and then show you. There's the tiny little triangle, double triangle. And the same this side. See, tiny bits off. Do you want to come and have a look, or shall I come to you, Danica? So there's the seam, and there is a bit off. Okay, coming back in so you can see a bit more of it. Now we're going to turn the bag the right way out. So you've got your double folds at the bottom here, and you've got all 4 loose rough edges here. So you go inside the one that's going to be the outside of your bag. So a bit like putting a pillowcase on, and I've got my fingers in at the corner, and you turn it the right way out. Like that. And now you can see we've got a bag, and if you look inside, you can see we've got it lined with no rough edges showing there. So I'm going to put some pins in now and help me attach the handles to the bag. So measuring from the side seam, another 10 centimetres here, and I'm just going to put pin in at the 10 centimetre mark. It's harder to do when I'm trying to do it so you can see what I'm doing. So there is a pin there. I'm going to do that to the other corner here and then turn it over and do it to the other side. So each pin is through 2 layers of fabric. If I open it up, you'll see the pin's gone through there to there, and then there's the one 10 centimetres in on the other side. So you take your first handle like that, and you want to have it with the side with the fold of the seam downwards that way. And now you open just the top layer of the fabric and slide the handle in until it goes up to your pin there. So this edge of the handle is going to be 10 centimetres away from there. I've got it about 1.5 inches in there. At that point I'd take the pin out and put it through again, holding the handle in place between the 2 layers. So you can see I've pinned one layer, the handle, and the second layer, all inside that same one. So you can see all the handles are pinned on. Each handle is pinned 4 centimetres, or there's 4 centimetres of handle hidden between, and hopefully you can see you've got both seams on the inside there, and then the other one also has both seams on the inside of the bag. The reason for that is that when the handles are at the top like that, you can have them, and you've got a flat bit to hold on to at the top. 2 handles were particularly requested rather than the style of bag with 1, because it holds all the items inside it more securely. Again, ironing this might be a good idea, but again, I can't cope. So if you go to one of the side seams here and peel back the 2 outside ones, which will be the right hand side of the bag, then we're just looking at the 2 bits of fabric that are going to be, I don't know, the left hand side of the bag, like that. And this is the bit that we didn't sew the top of, and you can see why ironing it would make it easier. You're folding both of them in half like that, so you're tucking all the raw edges inside there. And then we are going to top stitch along, holding those 2 together. Now don't catch the other ones in it. You just peer through the back of the machine, you can see that I've top stitched along there. I've stopped just before the handle to show you what I do here. So underneath the handle we've got one side folded or ironed down, then the handle coming out vertically, and then the top one done here. Now obviously the handle is the bit that needs to be nice and strong, so I sew over it once like this, and then put the machine in reverse and sew backwards over my stitches until I get to the other side of it, and then we zoom forward again over the stitches again. So you've got 3 layers of stitching holding that on. I'm going to continue going round the whole of the bag, folding it in and sewing along and doing the same thing on the other 3 handles, and we'll catch you again just when I get to near the end. So I thought maybe I ought to show you what happens when I get to the other seam. So here we are, here's my fold going in, and then there's the bit that we haven't sewn. So I've got, this is my first side, so I've held those together until you get to the end, and then underneath you fold that one in like that, and you fold this one in like that. So for this brief bit here of the seam allowance, you're going to be going through all 4 layers of folded fabric, so just go a little bit slowly. Here we are right at the end, and you can see where I started, the top stitching. So we've come full circle round the top of the bag. So to finish the end off, you just fold that one in like that, lay the one that we've already top stitched down, and then we can fold that one in like that, and I shall sew all the way over that, all the layers. So here is the bag. It's a flat bag at the moment, but it's lined. You can see it's fully functional like that. But what we're going to do now is to something that my friend Janet showed me, and we are going to make the bag. I don't know, can you see there on Janet's lovely bag that she made, so that we've got a sort of a base to the bag like that. So to make that, the first thing you need to do is to turn your bag inside out. Doesn't look much different because we've lined it in the same fabric as the outside, but of course you've now got the join of the seam on the handle. Now this bit, I don't know if you want to come close for it, Danica, but what we're going to do is I've got my fingers inside here, I'm squeezing my finger sort of to show you, so I've got my finger in the corner. We're going to flatten this seam here along the centre line of the bottom so that we get kind of a ear or triangle shape like that. Now we're going to be sewing a line that's 10 centimetres, everything seems to be 10 centimetres on this pattern, 10 centimetres across from here to here. Now anyone who's good at maths can work it out, but it usually works out that if you measure 7 centimetres along this side and 7 centimetres along this side, then it's approximately a 10 centimetre line there like that. So here I've sewn along the line there, and you can see we've got a triangle making a little ear and another one here. So then when I turn the bag back the right way out, instead of the 2 corners that we had just now, can you see, I've got my fingers inside again, but can you see we've got 4 to make a rectangle in the base. Does that show, Danica? You can see well enough. That's good. And then there we go. And there is our bag ready to be filled with all the things that are needed, and then popped on the shoulder like that.